The first day of the revolution, a couple of Range Rovers drove up to the U.S. Embassy. They said, it's time for you to meet Brother Muammar. He shared the Arab view that our objective was to maintain client states throughout the region, using our military bases and using economic aid and other inducements.
Gaddafi told the American diplomats that the giant Wheelus Air Force Base and its 5,000 airmen were no longer welcome. The United States lost a strategic base in the heart of the Arab world, but it did not break off relations with Gaddafi. Far from it.
We recast our policy to downplay the importance of the military bases, to protect our economic relationship, and since this was a Cold War period, to do what we could to prevent Libya from offering some kind of special access and military privileges to the Soviet Union. I think he saw value in having some kind of relationship with the United States as long as Libya was not in a subordinate role.
Libya remained very important to Washington. And not only because of geopolitics. Beneath its soil was the 6th largest oil reserve in the world, with American companies taking pride of place. But the rich, strategically located nation was now in the hands of a revolutionary.
You have no intention of nationalizing ESSO. You have no intention of nationalizing Occidental?
Should not be worried about ESSO and Occidental and
why?
Other. Because we nationalized BB for political reasons. You see?
Yes.
We hope this reason will not happen in the future between us and America.
They sent a former ambassador who was well versed in difficult negotiations.
Well, my personal belief after 38 years as a diplomat was that we should never break communications with anyone. We should always be talking. I found it very, very friendly, and he took out a map of the oil fields. And he says, you see all of these blocks in red? Well, I'm saving this for American companies, he said. They have the best technology, so we want them to come. So that's why we want to have normal relations with the U.S. We want American business to come back.
Gaddafi had been shrewd enough not to touch the American oil concessions, but the implied threat was clear. Come back before others reap the benefits. After 4 years of embargo, the Libyan oil fields were whetting business appetites. Italian, German, British and French businessmen were making regular trips to Tripoli despite US opposition.
As other countries, mainly European countries and companies, started to try to get into the oil drilling and export business in Libya, those companies, particularly I remember ConocoPhillips, became nervous that they would lose their drilling rights. And so they did start to press.
It wasn't just the oil companies. The new British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, was close to President Clinton and to the British companies, keen to renew ties with Libya. All kinds of pressures were coming into play. In 1998, after bitter negotiations, the White House agreed to a novel solution. The same assembly that had voted for an embargo on Libya 10 years earlier now pronounced Gaddafi officially acceptable. Once the sanctions were lifted, world leaders flocked to pay court in Tripoli. Gaddafi had called for these visits, which made him a player on the world stage. With Libya now owning the 8th largest oil reserve, as well as large natural gas reserves, everyone sought his favors. Gaddafi even received the US Secretary of State. On the agenda, commerce and the war on terror. Tony Blair, architect of the West's rapprochement with Libya, signed billions of dollars in contracts for Shell and BP. 3 years after Tony Blair's visit, Gaddafi and his son Saif obtained the compassionate release of the only Libyan serving a life sentence for the Lockerbie bombing. Officially, he was released on health grounds.
حقيقة وأيضا تقال للمرة الأولى كل الصفقات التجارية والنفطية والغاز واللي في تلك الفترة واللي أشرفنا عليها أنت كنت دائما موجود على الطاولة. فكانت كل المصالح البريطانية لما تجي ليبيا أنت دائما كنت نحط فيك على الطاولة وبشكل شخصي كنت أشرف على هذا الموضوع.
Gaddafi was rich. He bought roads, factories, airports, and a lot of weapons. At the request of the Europeans, he stemmed the tide of would-be African migrants who were crossing Libya bound for Europe.